Greetings fellow gorehounds and welcome back to another Blood Splattered vlog. So last night I was browsing Netflix and I decided to check out this movie called Satanic. I don't know what drew me to it. I guess I just saw the name and I was like, what the fuck, I'll watch a movie called Satanic, which is basically about four 20-somethings who are on their way to Coachella, but decide to take a detour before heading to Coachella to check out all these satanic hotspots in Los Angeles. And by satanic hotspots, I basically mean locations like the Manson family house, or the Los Angeles chapter of the Church of Satan. Now granted, some of the locations, like, the Manson family house, are real locations that actually exist. I don't know if they shot them on location, but they definitely are real things. But some of the locations in the movie I'm pretty sure were fabricated for the movie. If I am wrong about that though, feel free to correct me in the comments section, because I've been wrong before. But anyway, these 20-somethings, they go to these satanic hotspots, and they end up stumbling across what they think is a satanic ritual. And they end up saving this girl from what seemed to be some sort of virgin sacrifice, maybe. They're not quite sure, but they definitely save this girl. And they run off with her, but then things go really wrong. Like, wrong enough to where I have to save most of the plot synopsis for the spoilers, because after that point, which is about like 30 minutes into the movie, it gets really spoilery. But unfortunately, most of this movie is actually really middling. Like, there's nothing so good to write home about, but there's also nothing so bad that it's completely awful. Which means it's the perfect movie for like a throwaway Netflix watch, but it's not really worth buying or getting all your friends together to, watch and laugh or have a good time. But anyway, the acting is so-so, the scares, they're hit or miss, but some of the best stuff is actually some of the practical effects they do in the movie. Like, there is like an effect towards the end of the movie where like a person is merging into a wall, and that was pretty fucking creepy. But probably the best part of the movie is actually the satanic tourism that, takes up like the first half of the movie. I really like that whole part where they're going to like the Manson house and, the Church of Satan. Like, that whole part of the movie is surprisingly engaging and surprisingly fun, and I actually kind of liked getting to know these characters, these group of four friends, before, everything goes awry. Now granted, I do think it takes a little too long for things to get going, as I did find myself like checking my cell phone more than once while watching this movie. In fact, I paused it at one point to go check my emails for no other reason other than I guess I was just starting to lose interest. But there was one character in particular that I really liked in this movie, and that was the Asian goth guy, who reminded me a lot of like a younger version of my good buddy Count Jacula. He's just this gung-ho goth dude who really wants to go to all these Satan spots and is actually the kind of guy who's just like, hey, like, that Church of Satan van is driving that way. Let's go follow them to their location and see if they're doing some sort of ritual we can catch on camera. That guy was legitimately fun, and you do feel bad when you see his ultimate fate, which was pretty gnarly now that I think about it, but really tame by like Hellraiser standards. Which I think is something that this movie's actually really missing. You kind of want it to go the full Hellraiser, but instead it's trying way too hard to keep it more grounded and subtle, and unfortunately I think it's to the movie's detriment. Like, the last act of this movie should have had like chains flying out of walls or like people morphing into things. It should have been just really fucking gnarly and fucked up, kind of like a movie like Baskin. Like, that's kind of what this movie needed, was a finale way closer to Baskin's finale. And on top of that, the final shot of the movie is very underwhelming. Like, you think for like the first time in the movie you're gonna get like a shot of like some sort of demon entity or something like that, but instead it cuts before you get to see anything, which is like, There's not even anything you can like freeze frame to see. It literally cuts before we get a chance to see shit. It is really lame, and I was disappointed. Anyway, my fellow gorehounds, let's move on to the spoilers. Alright, so it turns out that the girl they saved earlier in the movie from the supposed satanic ritual, they actually saved her from a expulsion ritual. They're actually kicking her out of the group. And the reason they were kicking her out of the group is because she was way more hardcore than any of the other Satanists. And by hardcore, I mean she was actually trying to summon demons and shit. She actually wanted to sacrifice people. The rest of them, it was just a scene for them to get laid and take ecstasy and rave. But for her, it was actually, let's fucking kill people. Let's fucking raise the devil. Let's, bring hell on earth. Which, the other Satanists, they weren't into. So what ends up happening is that this group takes the girl into their hotel room, which is another satanic hotspot, supposedly one where a murder-suicide of some kind took place, in an attempt to raise a demon of some kind. So yeah, once they get this girl alone, she does a complete 180 on her character. She starts, seducing the boys, trying to party, stripping in front of everybody, ultimately culminating in her trying to do a satanic seance and manipulating the others to join her, and she slits her throat and dies on the hotel room floor, and the rest of them get caught up in a police investigation about, the death of this girl, which means they can't leave LA. And naturally, while they're staying in LA, a bunch of spooky shit starts happening, like dead birds in a pool, and like dream sequences about being disemboweled, and like TVs being smashed, and rooms just being completely destroyed. So they confront the original satanic cult and find out that, oh, the girl was the one actually trying to do all this shit. She was the hardcore one, and they were actually trying to just get rid of her. And this all leads into the group saying, fuck this, we're getting out of here. We don't care if we're part of a police investigation. We do not know what's going on, and we do not want no part of it. Unfortunately, one of the girls gets sick, they pull over, and they end up getting caught in this hallucinogenic satanic hell inside this abandoned building, which sounds way cooler than it actually is. But basically, characters start disappearing, they start hearing people screaming in rooms and running in and no one's in there, and it ultimately culminates in one girl being left alone, essentially the final girl, and her seeing her friends, like, one merging with the wall, one all, like, with a mutilated arm, and I think another one merging with the wall. I seem to recall that happening twice, but did it happen twice? Wow, it says a lot that I watched this movie last night and there's like huge parts that I just don't remember very well. But basically, her friends are all trapped in hell, she starts getting trapped in hell, and her mouth is sewn shut off screen, and her arms are all of a sudden missing after a cut, and this demon picks up her cell phone and starts walking towards her in the darkness, clad in shadow, and then the movie ends. That's the end of the movie. That's it. Last shot is the cell phone right on her face, and the end. And no, this isn't like a found footage movie or anything. This is actually just kind of a generic looking movie. In fact, at times it kind of felt more like generic TV than an actual movie. So yeah, not much more to say there other than I really wanted the movie to go crazier in the end. I really wanted it to go completely apeshit, but it doesn't. It kind of plays it a little too safe. And like I said earlier, it takes a little too long to get there, and the characters, while it does take its time for you to get to know them, there aren't the best acted characters. They're not terrible, but there are parts of the movie where they're clearly just reading lines. And some of the dialogue is just not that good. Yeah, I feel like I'm just starting to repeat myself at this point, so let's just say Satanic. It's available on Netflix if you want to see it, at least in the North America region. I don't know about other countries. And I'd probably give this movie, I don't know, 1.5 stars. Maybe just 1 star. I don't know if it's quite worth 2, but I don't know if it's 100% 1. I'll split in the middle. Like I said, 1.5 stars. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, my fellow Gorehounds, I am sorry that this has been mainly a vlog channel for the last few months. I've been kind of going through a bad bout of depression and shit for some personal reasons. But I'm starting to come out of it, so hopefully we will have another Blood Splattered Cinema episode really soon. We've actually started filming it, and I know it was like 2 months ago where I said I had written it, but we're actually filming it now, so it's real, for lack of a better way of putting it. And I'll catch you on either the next vlog or the next Blood Splattered Cinema episode, whichever happens first. Probably a vlog. Probably a vlog. Anyway, peace out, my fellow Gorehounds, and I'll catch y'all later.